have intermittently been wearing my blanket. The furnace at home is trying to break.
Oh, and then I just took a bite. Oh, I better put that away.
Yeah, and you didn't share.
I know, it's an apple that's been in the refrigerator here at the office, you know, for several days, so you probably wouldn't want it.
Better than nothing.
Yes. Okay, let me wrap up. I have to push this button and then we can start the meeting.
Well, let me ask Jessica Bechter real quick. Jessica, does it look like we have a quorum?
Indeed, we are good to go. We have a lot of people online today. So with that, just a friendly reminder to make sure to mute yourself if you're not speaking. And when making a motion, if you'll just state your name, that way we catch that in the recording. Thank you.
All right, so I will call the meeting to order. We have some consent items, agenda, minutes, and financial report. So I guess I need a motion to accept the consent items.
Karen Brown, so moved.
You guys could repeat that motion, the first and the second, please.
Sharon Brown, so moved to accept the consent agenda.
Thank you, Sharon.
Second, Ed Dills.
Sorry. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. And also there. Any public comments?
There were none by email.
Okay. So now we have information items. A legislative update from Jessica McMullen, which I love those legislative updates. So what's new?
Well, so it has been a busy legislative session already. When we met last month, I gave you a little bit of a brief update on what was going on and how things are working. But as I always remind you, the Board of Directors Legislative Committee meets weekly on Mondays at 8:30 a.m. and they review any new bills that have been pulled out by our lobbyist, by me, or that have been brought to our attention by board members or committee members. Things that we do with when we meet. We talk about the bills. We talk about, are they PPACG bills? They talk about how do they impact us? And other things relating to that. In your packet, I gave you a list of all of our positions as of February the 15th. At our meeting this past Monday, we actually chose there were only 2 new bills and we're monitoring them for more information. So we didn't take positions on them. So the information you have in your packet is the most up-to-date on PPACG bills positions. Did anybody have any questions about those bills or about PPACG's positions or about how our legislative process works?
This is Ann, Jessica.
Mm-hmm.
You said that the committee meets on Monday, every Monday at 8:30?
They do, or as needed.
Can we listen in or not?
Absolutely, they're public meetings, just like everything.
And how do you do that? Is there a Zoom or not?
There is Zoom. They're actually Zoom only. And Anne, I will stick the link in our chat for you.
Well, I'd appreciate that.
Or would it be better if I emailed it to you?
Email is good.
Okay.
Okay. I appreciate that. I'm interested. Thank you.
I like helping.
Okay, any other comments, questions about legislative update? Okay, how about update on the Area Agency on Aging program?
So, hello, CAC. My name is Melissa Martz. I'm the Program Development Administrator with the Pikes Peak Area Agency on Aging. And I was just going to share some of the pieces that I'm doing in my role as a Program Development Admin. I've been with the agency now for 3 years. And, you know, my role kind of is twofold. One is kind of looking at our 4-year plan, looking at all the varieties of services that we do in our 3-county area. What are some of the gaps and, you know, where are we still working to meet the needs? And so for the last 3 years, there's really been a focus around housing and behavioral health. And I'll talk about that in a few minutes. But then the other part of my job is to also do what I can to get the word out about the Area Agency on Aging and what the organization does, because in many ways, it's kind of the best kept secret in the sense that we do administer the Older American Act dollars, and we distribute those out to a lot of other organizations to do really good work. But we still have services and programs that we do within our agency. And so working to get that information out, I work really closely with Jessica McMullen to help make that happen. But back to kind of the housing and behavioral health side for the last, you know, kind of period of time. You know, we have some pretty significant needs around housing, not just in El Paso County, but Park and Teller as well. But some of the biggest results have kind of happened in El Paso County. And one of them, we worked with Sunshine Home Share to sponsor a grant for them to open up a location here to do, you know, home matching between older adults who have a house and want to open it up to someone else. So we set up a home sharing program here. And then just recently worked with the city of Colorado Springs. We had older adults who we've had 3 different gentrification projects happen with affordable housing that just older adults were living in. So the folks were paying, you know, $600 or less for their apartment, and new owners came in and raised the rents up to $1,200 a month. People couldn't afford it. They had to find places to live. It was really pretty much a crisis. And so through those last 3, you know, relocation efforts, the city has created a tenant-based rental assistance program specifically for older adults. And so that program is funded through the city. And Silver Key most likely will be the entity that's going to manage it. This is just getting off the ground and running. And so basically when an older adult is forced out of their home, either through the rents going up too high, or unfortunately sometimes a foreclosure, you know, you never know. There is this rental-based assistance program that can help with paying for the deposit in the new location, help pay for moving expenses, all of that stuff. And so we're really excited about that resource here. And then from a behavioral health side, we started, and the AAA actually funds a program called Pearls, which is a 19-week in-home. It's a behavioral health program, but it's really more of kind of a goal-setting program for older adults who are really kind of stuck and feeling anxious and disappointed about how things are going. So you can imagine during COVID, this was a really good resource for people to tap into. So instead of actually going to see a counselor or a psychotherapist, you actually kind of get set up with a coach, and you kind of work out goals, and you do that for a 19-week period. It's been a really great program to kind of improve resources and just feelings of well-being for older adults. And then another recent program that's just getting launched is the Pikes Peak Elder Justice Center. And that entity actually has 4 parts to it. One of them is an elder shelter program. Another is a forensic team, which is a geriatrician focused team of people that come together and kind of look at the needs of an older adult, a geropsychologist, a geriatrician, APS, kind of whoever needs to be kind of in the room and looking at that person and kind of seeing what their needs are and putting together a plan to help that person age in place and get the resources they need. And then a guardianship program as well. And so the Pikes Peak Area Agency on Aging was instrumental in getting that program up and running and supporting our 3-county region. And then the last thing that, well, one more piece of services, I guess, is just a reminder that we have the state health insurance program within the AAA. And so we have Medicare webinars that are up and running. We are actually, since they're webinars now, we record them so people can go watch them, but we have numerous lunch and learns coming up. And so, you know, if people have questions about their Medicare coverage, because right now, if you're not happy with Medicare and what you picked, you can still change that out until kind of mid-March. And a lot of people don't know that. And so we have these webinars that are ongoing all the time. And then the last thing that I oversee in my role are the Regional Advisory Council meetings, the Pikes Peak Commission on Aging meetings, and the Mobility Coordinating Committee meetings. And so just kind of making sure that, you know, those meetings are supported and the information is getting disseminated and shared. And, you know, those groups are carrying out their roles within the PPACG and what needs to be done. And I think that is my update. So if anybody has any questions or thoughts. So Shelly.
Yes, ma'am. Shelly Roars with the League of Women Voters. Melissa, thank you so much for this report. I have 3 questions, if you would be patient for me. Is the Pearls program, is Cynthia still doing that, or is there someone else involved?
That's Cynthia's program. Yep, you're
Cynthia,
right.
yes, ma'am. Perfect. Thank you for that. Second question regarding the Sunshine Home Share and the home matching program. The legislative update that we got had SB 22072, the grants to incentivize home use for renters, and it had the vulnerability. We were monitoring that one. Is that similar to that program?
It's different, and Jessica can probably comment more about it, but you know, one of the concerns with that is that there's really no kind of oversight for it. What's nice about the nonprofit resource of Sunshine Home Share is that they really do match folks. And yes, there are people out there who can do it without, you know, having someone work to match people up. But when you have a vulnerable older adult, possibly, who wants to share their home with somebody else, it's nice for them to know that there's a lot of checks and balances in place. And so Sunshine Home Share does that and makes sure that on both sides, the person who is the homeowner is protected, as well as the person who's the home seeker is protected. Because if a home seeker moved in with a homeowner who was on the verge of losing their house, that would be a terrible match. If the home seeker moved in, or if the homeowner let a home seeker move in who's, you know, kind of going through some pretty significant issues, that might not be the best match either. So with the legislation that's kind of out there, it's just, you know, kind of setting people up to do it on their own, which can be a good thing. There's also some other pieces to the legislation that are, again, something that PPACG is kind of just monitoring, checking out. But again, for us, one of the concerns is just we like the oversight that can happen with an actual matching service.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, go ahead.
I just do want to chime in on that bill. We do know that Sunshine Home Share was meeting with Senator Paul Lundeen on that as well. It is something where he heard the great idea, saw it was a good thing, but just hadn't engaged as much with some of the folks who are already doing it. So as we're monitoring to see where that goes, and if he amends it to kind of cover it to be something that we support more, or if there ends up being a bigger problem with it and we need to engage in another direction.
Great. Thank you for that. I'll keep an eye out. And then Melissa, my last question. Recently there was a senior that I think you were in the news. She lost her condo after being in foreclosure. That last program that you mentioned, would that have helped her? if we would have gotten notice enough, I guess, in time? It seemed like that was going on for several years, if I understand.
Yeah, so for her and her complicated case, yes, it would have been helpful because one of the situations with her was behavioral health. And so again, we have so few behavioral health resources in our region, although we have a few more. But someone like her, she had an incredibly complicated life history and needs, and she really needed a wraparound kind of service like what the Elder Justice Center has to offer. Not only with putting her into elder shelter, but also being able to have her have a team of geriatric professionals really, checking her out and looking at, all of the pieces that are in her life, what her medications are, what her life history is, what her cognitive abilities are or aren't. And so, yes, it would have been helpful for her, for sure. So looking forward to when we can intervene with another older adult and make a difference.
Right. And I guess, Melissa, it goes back to what you said. It's a case for us to all learn from, and maybe just to kind of keep an eye out on those things that, that could have been prevented 100%.
Yes. Yep.
Thank you for your remarks on that. I appreciate your time.
Yeah. Other comments or thoughts? And
Yes, this is Sharon Brown, City of Fountain. The City of Fountain has just recently, and I missed the grand opening, has just recently opened up affordable housing for senior citizens. And I think that's really important. My understanding was that they launched it, I think it was either last week or the week before on Wednesday. But I think that needs to be mentioned, that has been available, that is available. I guess it's filling up very, very quickly. But I'm pleased that Fountain was able to do that.
yes, and so are many people, because when the last selling of the low-income senior affordable housing happened, 9 of those residents were able to relocate to villas at Mesa Ridge down there in Fountain. And so, to make that happen, the City of Fountain and El Paso County had to approve building this affordable housing development down there, which happened, and that started like 3 years ago. And so these things don't happen overnight. And, we are so lucky, Sharon, that they opened when they did. And the management of that apartment complex were so friendly to the older adults who needed places to go. They just did anything and everything to help bring people down there and move people in. It's wonderful. And so, yes, grateful to the City of Fountain for making that happen.
And the City of Fountain was also able, with our city transit, they also have a bus stop right there. And I think it's hourly that they're actually able to pick up people and take them in and around the city for their needs. They're very close to a Safeway. So I'm really pleased with the way this has worked out.
Yep, agreed.
Any other questions for Melissa? Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So next,
Thank you.
next up, some action items. PPACG CDOT 10-year plan. Is John on the line?
I am on the line, and actually, Madam Chair, if we could ask to take item 5D out of order.
All right.
Shane Ferguson has another meeting to run off to. This is the main one that he needs to cover. He's
Okay.
come back if he can, but if he can't, Rob and I and Wendy should be able to do it, and Jeff. So if you don't mind, we'll go ahead and do that. So real quickly, item 6D is the CDOT faster funding for 2026. When we originally looked at this back in November at the TAC meeting, the TAC had basically said, yeah, this is fine to move forward. However, let's not run it through the committees just yet. Let's wait and see what happens with our 10-year plan. And if you remember, I brought you the 10-year plan last month. And so because you don't want to use your faster funds to work on projects only to find out that the projects you're working on are not a priority. So we've gone through that process, and I think we're ready now. So Shane, can you talk a little bit about the projects included within the faster fiscal year 26 item, please?
Yeah, Jessica, if you can scroll on down to that spreadsheet, I'll run from, I think it's towards the bottom of the list. There you go. And you may have to jostle it left and right as I go through this discussion. And so really looking, you got the first section, which is multiple agencies and multiple areas. And that's really safety projects like striping and that such. It's really that second area, which is PPACG, that we want to talk about. And so if you'll scroll to the fiscal year, you've got that right there. Sorry.
And this should be in everyone's packet, right? So
yes.
Otherwise, if we actually tell you to look at it, you'll need the Hubble telescope to actually,
that's right.
it's pretty small print. So if you follow along on your own, that might be great, or hopefully you've had a chance to look at it. Go ahead, Shane.
Yeah. So that first item, you'll see about, I think it's 673 or 873,000. Scroll it back to the other direction, if you will, Jessica, please. That is median barrier on Powers Corridor. And so you've probably seen this on I-25, where we've been adding that median barrier and cable barrier up and down I-25. This is the same idea, and we're starting to add that to areas of Powers Corridor. It's really helping that crossover accident issues that we have. It's really a safety component that helps eliminate some of those crossover problems that and really the fatalities that we've seen in areas. And so that's where that first set of funds are going. I think the next one down is actually US 24 East Judge Orr Road. If you'll scroll back to the other direction. There we go. That's really identifying some of the construction funding that will be used to align that Judge Orr and US 24 intersection. The skew at that location is pretty significant right now. And we're really looking at trying to square up that skew and allow for a safer condition. There's definitely going to be some design considerations that we're currently starting on. So if you look at the fiscal year 24, we have 2 additional lines, which has already been in the tip and approved. It's $2 million and 1.6 million. That's both for design and for right-of-way. We're anticipating some needs there in the right-of-way side of the house. We're beginning the design of this project this calendar year. But we're planning out again for fiscal year 26, really just having 6.3 million available for construction in that fiscal year. And so that's really what that project's all about. And then the 2 additional projects below that, where it's in the gray, those are pursuits right now that we're chasing grants for. And Jessica, if you scroll back the other direction, I think they're both median barrier projects. One's on US 24 right there, MLK bypass area. And then the second one is US 24 Green Mountain Falls location, I believe, in that area on 24 West. And really trying to address some safety concerns in those 2 locations. And so that takes care of that fiscal year 26 request for faster funding.
And if any questions for Shane, otherwise we're looking for you hopefully to give us a thumbs up in terms of an action item for this to move on to the board.
So we need a motion to recommend approval of CDOT proposed fiscal year 26 funding.
Yeah. Or if there's questions, we don't want to rush anybody.
Okay, any more questions? I'm rushing.
This is Ed. I move that we accept as presented.
This is Carol. I'll second.
All right, any additional discussion on the motion? So all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you. And I will rejoin as soon as I can.
Okay,
Yeah,
Thanks,
thanks, Shane. Yeah, so now if we can hop back to the item 5A, Madam Chair.
all right. 10-year
Or-
transit plan.
The 10-year transit plan. And again, let me first by saying for the next 3 items, we did, when we go to TAC, it's on the Thursday. And so I think we missed some of the deadline to get everything in your packet. So some things have changed. I'm going to do my best to catch everything. But Danelle is looking right over my shoulder. And so she can help out with that. But in addition, we've got the CDOT Region 2 Dream Team of Rob and Wendy and Jeff on the line. So they're going to help keep us in line, as well as answer any of the sort of the in the weeds questions. And again, in about maybe 10 or 15 minutes, Shane will be back if we need him. So we'll start with the item, the 6A, which is the transit portion of the CDOT 10-year plan. And some of you who are paying attention will be like, but John, didn't you just bring this to us last month and we approved it? Yes, you did. However, after it left CAC, Mountain Metro Transit and CDOT, Brian Vituli and Jeff were sort of looking at everything, and they're like, well, we'd like to make some changes here and there. So they made some last minute changes. And I think you can see on the thing that's on your screen right now is sort of the things with the green arrows got moved up in priority. The things with the red arrows got moved down in priority. And Jess, we might need to have Danelle share her screen because she's got the most up-to-date list. So if you don't mind doing that, because again, this changed after it went out, and Danelle's got those. So it got changed right before it went to the board. When it went to the board, I think they were pretty much okay with it, but they were like, this is why we have the TAC and the CAC. If they haven't really seen it, we're not comfortable going ahead and passing it now. Send it back through the committee and make sure that everything's cool before we move forward. So last week we took it to the TAC and they made a few more changes. And Danelle, I might need you to help me with some of those. One of them was on the unfunded portion of the list. They added a fountain project for fountain transit bus shelters. So that's new to your list. Plus, we also updated the format so it's a little more easier to read as far as what's funded and what's not funded. Danelle, was there any other changes, or Jeff, any other changes from the last time these good folks saw the transit plan? I see Jeff kind of shaking his head no.
You are correct, John. We
Okay.
have added the fountain project, and we do have the new format that will go forward to the board and hopefully be easier for people to understand. That was the only change from TAC.
So again, you approved it last month, but that was the old format. So hopefully you will approve it again in this new format and with the new fountain project edition. Happy to answer any questions, or more than likely I will deflect them to our friends at CDOT and have Jeff answer because he's the expert and I'm not. Any questions?
John, if I may, thanks for the intro. Hi,
thanks,
everybody.
Jeff.
Hi, everybody. Jeff Guthrie, CDOT Region 2 Transit Liaison. Just to clarify for the group, this list that we're looking at right here is the fiscal constraint, the draft fiscal constraint number that all of us at the state, including the STAC and then the Transportation Commission, are working with. You'll notice the sheet that you're looking at has 2 tabs. This one right here, the 10.09 million over the first 4 years, is what we're all working with going forward.
Yeah, and thanks. And that was a big reason for all the last minute changes, Jeff. I should have led with that. So thank you. So again, happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, again, this is an action item. Looks like you've got a hand from Mr. Dills, Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, since this is an update to our packet, can Jessica send us a copy of that so I can put it with my files?
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah,
that way I'll discard the old that we're not using and put this in place of it.
Right. So to make sure that happens, Danelle needs to send it to Jessica, and then Jessica will send it out.
Thank you.
Yeah, oh, no problem. And my apologies, that's sort of the way the schedule works. Sometimes the TAC happens and then you guys happen, and we don't have enough time to sort of update everything as much as we'd like.
So do we have enough information to recommend approval? I can kind of read the fine print. I don't have any additional questions. Any other questions to be answered before we have a motion about if we're going to approve it or not? I guess not. Go ahead.
Got her hand up, or she's just blocking the sun?
Oh, I can't see anybody's hands. So I don't know. Maybe I need to do
Okay.
something different here.
Are you good, Ann? Or were you just blocking the sun in your eyes? I think she's good. Okay, never mind.
Okay, good. Phew. Okay, so could I have a motion, please, to, the proposed motion is recommend approval of the PPACG CDOT 10-year transit plan.
This is Michael Colomb. I recommend approval for the CDOT 10-year traffic plan, transit plan.
This is Sharon Brown, I second.
No, or Sharon.
Go,
Sharon
whatever.
or Terry?
Either one.
Any discussion on the motion?
No, Madam Chair, I did see Ann's hand up on the screen. So Ann, we don't want to go without getting your question.
Are you talking to me, Ann, and Green Mountain?
Yes, yes.
Oh.
Are you
Well,
good, or do you?
I must have made a mistake. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. We just wanted to make sure everything was.
No, this is great. And I was going to say thank you to what you mentioned before about Green Mountain Falls being on the list. So that was something else though. Okay, bye.
Thank you, Ann.
I'm sorry.
With my view, with my shared screen, the shared screen is on one side, and then I have a column with all the attendees. And so it's supposed to, when someone raises their hand, put you at the top, but I didn't see you. So I'm glad someone's looking out. Okay, I guess we have a motion and discussion has been done. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you.
Sorry.
You're next up, John, again.
Yeah, so now we'll move to item 6B, which is the, somebody help me with the I have like 5 screens up and I don't have the actual item open. What's the official item name again?
It's the 10-year list with funding.
The 10-year list with funding. Oh, okay, thank you. Whew. All right, so we had to do that item first for you to approve sort of the overall list of priorities. Now, this list is actually those priorities with the funding line on it. If I've got that correct, Wendy, feel free to correct me. And so the one thing there that is, it's new, you haven't seen it before. So again, but it's based on the old list that you've already adopted, right? So you adopted priorities. Now it's to sort of go through and actually put funding to those priorities. And that sort of gives us more to work from as far as picking projects off that list and moving them into the TIP process. Spoiler alert, item 6C is the TIP amendment. That's where we're going to move them from this list into the TIP. And so when we brought this item to the TAC last week, and I think it's a change from what's in your packet, again, Danelle, correct me if I'm wrong, is we had the comment that said, remove from the 10-year list. And actually, that's not a correct statement. It should have read, remove from the constrained or funded list. It's still on the 10-year list. It's just further down. So with that, Like I said, we've got Rob Fry here and Wendy Pettit to talk about the roadway projects, and Jeff's still on the line for anything transit. I don't think Shane's joined us back again. So any questions on this? And actually, before we ask for questions, I don't think I kind of did that introduction justice. So Rob or Jeff or Wendy, anybody want to go ahead and put a finer point on the difference between this list and the previous list?
No, thanks, John. I think you did a pretty good job. Really, this list is updating our CDOT's 10-year plan for PPACG area. And we've got them separated here in front of you between transportation and transit. The transit list should be very familiar since you just saw it, but we'll go over it here quickly. Just kind of give you a little bit of the constraints we're working with. I'm not sure how familiar everyone is. Hopefully you all recall, but about 2018, we put together the original 10-year list of CDOT projects. And most of those projects, well, not most, all of those projects fortunately have been funded and are either constructed or in a phase of construction. So just to remind you, a couple of those projects, when that'll be going out to construction later this year, is the Fillmore to Garden of the Gods auxiliary lanes. That was on the years 1 through 4 list. Research and Powers Boulevard as well as the Gap project. So now we're taking that old list and we're updating it with the new 10-year list of items. And last week, our Transportation Commission did approve the fiscal constraint numbers. So the list that we have here, we were using in quotes, a draft number. That draft number is now confirmed. So the numbers here are fortunately still accurate. So that's what we're going to be working with. So all we really did, and John pointed out earlier, you guys went through and approved a priority list for transportation projects. And so what CDOT did is we just strictly went down your new priority list and started allocating funds towards it. So our first years 1 through 4, you can see there that in the original 10-year list, so column F there was kind of our original estimation of what the project would cost. G is our updated project cost today, and then column H there is the proposed funding in our new 10-year plan. So that very first project there is your remaining number 1 priority that you guys identified. We've got $4 million already funded towards that project from Senate Bill 267. So that covers that $4 million gap. So we're proposing another $45 million to complete that project going into construction. The next item on there is US 24 East widening project. That project is widening US 24 from 2 to 4 lanes between Garrett Road to Woodman as well. And really all we did there is just update that project cost, and it went from 46 million up to 50 million, and we're identifying $50 million for that project. The next item on there is the I-25 HOV lanes in Colorado Springs. We're recommending removing that project from the fiscal constrained list, as John noticed there, or mentioned there. You guys and the board approved moving that into the unconstrained list, but we did keep track of that number. I believe that was about a $55 million project. We added money to a couple of the projects up above and shuffled things around and added a few projects down below, which I'll go through. The next project down there, year 1 through 4, is drainage and safety improvements on Colorado Highway 67 north of Woodland Park. This is a new project to the 10-year list. It wasn't on the original list, but we added it here. It's also been identified as a priority project in Pikes Peak area, and we have it's a $10 million project. We have a few $1 million in other funding sources there, and to make up that gap, we're proposing $6.5 million in years 1 through 4. And then the other 2 projects that are identified there is Ridge Road, that cost estimate. So the next two projects are in that next tranche of funding years 5 through 10. So the next project we have there is the Ridge Road, US 24 Ridge Road overpass. That project increased from 16 million cost estimate to 33.4 million. And so we're looking to fund that in years 5 through 10. And then the last project I'll talk about is the safety and operational improvements on I-25 between exit 135 South Academy to exit 138. That's a $48 million project or $48.7 million project. With our fiscal constraint, we didn't have enough money to fully fund that in years 5 through 10, but I didn't want to lose it on keep track of it. So we're suggesting putting $27.1 million to it. And then if we can cobble other additional funds, we'll be able to actually fully construct that project. But that's years 5 through 10 out there a ways. And this project here is really got shifted around for that HOV lane project that you guys reviewed and reprioritized. So with that, I'll open up the transportation portion to discussion. And then if Jeff wants to chime in afterwards about transit, we can do that.
I have a question. This is Roy Rosenthal. Do you know why the Ridge Road overpass cost doubled?
I think Shane Ferguson will be able to answer that if he ever joins on. I know that was just a ballpark estimate from 4 years ago. And I think as they get more into it and taking a closer look at the design and the other potential costs, and another thing is we do have inflationary costs. I know some of the comments that have been made is we're looking at 40 to 60% additional costs for some of our bridge structures.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yep.
Any other comments for the transportation side?
Yes, it's Michael Cologne. I was wondering, are we incorporating the wildlife passages in any of these projects that we can?
No, to answer your question, no. We don't have any wildlife mitigation identified in any of these projects. I know there was an HSIP project in the past, Highway Safety Improvement Project for US 24 West in this area, but it was a separate project. It wasn't ever included as part of the US 24 West and Ridge Road overpass.
Okay, thank you. I know it's not gonna be applicable to all the projects, but where we can identify those. Okay, great, thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Cologne, this is Wendy. Just to add on to your question, what Rob said, most of those types of projects go through an application process, so they wouldn't be included in the capital projects that we're looking at here. That would be, like, as Rob said, it would be our safety money, so that would go through a different type of process to get those kind of projects funded. So it's not that there isn't something being looked at, it's just not in this look of what we're asking you to approve today.
I understand. Thank you so much.
Anything else? Any other questions? Thank you. Did you say you had someone to talk about the transit?
Yeah, I was just going to kick it over to Jeff Guthrie to quickly discuss the transit projects. It should look similar to what you guys just discussed. So hand it over to Jeff.
Okay.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Thanks, Rob. Again, Jeff Guthrie, Region 2 Transit Liaison. I can go through this list, and please do, if anybody has questions, please ask. The first in gray there in years 1 through 4 transit project listed, it's high capacity corridor improvements, and that means transit capacity, not roadway capacity. And excuse me, sorry about that. This would be money toward funding towards the environmental clearances, the engineering and design, as the notes section says, towards looking at possible buffered transit corridors or other types of increasing service around El Paso County. The second project down is a new mobility hub and park and ride and all around transit transfer center in Fountain to the tune of 8.2 million. And as the note says, a new mobility hub to support the existing Bustang and Outrider and Fountain City Transit and any other provider. Quite frankly, it's open to the public operations through there. And then the third project down would be removed from the constrained and funded list. That's why it's highlighted in red. And that was one of the changes that Mountain Metro Transit made following me giving them the draft fiscal constraint before the Transportation Commission had approved that. And this, excuse me, Mountain Metro Transit staff came back and removed this, like I said, from the constrained and funded list, but it's still on the long-term list, what we're calling the years 5 through 10. So this is still a priority for Mountain Metro, just in future years. And then the fourth project down there highlighted in gray in years 1 through 4 is what took its place, the BNSF corridor purchase. The project instead being pushed forward to years 1 through 4 is a new circulator shuttle that provides service to Fort Carson and immediate surrounding areas. And it's, as it says right there, this is on post circulators, not just commuter routes feeding into the post. And this is to the tune of $1.5 million. And this, as the note says, would require additional funding outside of that fiscal constraint that the Transportation Commission approved, and that's $400,000 as it's listed there. And Mountain Metro staff has indicated in discussions with Fort Carson that the Army would essentially contribute that additional funding. And then in years 5 through 10, the two projects in lines 13 and 14 not highlighted. The first one, line 13, would be expansion of fixed route service for Mountain Metro Transit, and that's the first phase of that. And that includes improving the frequency of service. In other words, how many buses per hour are serving the stops, and then also extending service hours into the evenings and on weekends. $7.8 million, but do note in column H, due to the fiscal constraints, $4.8 million of this state funding is identified. And then line 14, the last project from years 5 through 10 is a new transfer center at the Academy Boulevard and Hancock Expressway intersection. And in the notes column E there, it lists the new transit transfer center, reconfiguration of the roadway for better transit access, so on and so forth. And this is a $3 million project, as the notes in column I say, added to the 5 to 10 year list. And with that, please fire away with any questions anyone has.
I don't see any hands. Well, I guess no questions. Thank you for that detailed explanation. See, you did such a great job. No questions. Okay, so we do, this is an item where we need a motion to recommend approval. So do I have a motion to recommend approval of this 10-year plan funding? Wake up, everybody. I need a motion.
This is Roy Rosenthal. I recommend approval of the 10-year funding.
Thank you,
Shelley,
Roy.
I second.
Who is that, the second?
This is Shelly Roars with the League.
Oh, thank you, Shelly.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Final discussion on the motion. All right, all those in favor? Signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. So next on the agenda, let me look at my agenda. The TIP amendment.
And I think Danelle's got this one, correct, Danelle?
I do. Thank you. So we have several changes to the 22-25 TIP requested by various members or various jurisdictions. We do have two projects that received additional funding after a TAC workshop The Arnold Avenue Bridge replacement added some STP funding, and the Jackson Creek Parkway expansion added TAP funding that was available to the region. In addition, PPACG requested the use of toll credits to develop a regional freight study. So that is also part of this TIP amendment. There are 3 additional transit projects added by Mountain Metro Transit, and also some funding allocation updates from MMT as well. And then finally, there are some regional priority pool funding changes requested by CDOT in the fiscal years 24 through 26. We kind of tried to package all of these together so we could put them through as one amendment. If you have any questions on specific projects, I'd be happy to answer them.
Was this the one where we had something different in the table versus in the memo?
Oh, yes, you are correct, sir. There is a memo, there is a typo in the memo on the updated costs for the Arnold Avenue Bridge replacement. The numbers on, let's see, this is page, of course, no, it doesn't want to pop up, 32 of the packet, or I'm sorry. 41 of the packet. Those are the correct numbers. Don't see any hands up. Does anybody have questions?
I was trying to find where you were talking about, because my page 42 is different. Oh, that's page 31 that's displayed. So you said there's a typo on page 42?
No, there's a typo on actually the page that Jessica is showing now.
So that's page 31 of the handout?
Page 28 of the handout.
Oh, damn, okay.
And the correct numbers are on page 42, I believe.
Okay, so I'm looking at the one that we received, and you're saying what you're showing is different. Is that right?
No. It's your packet hasn't changed. It's so Jessica, could you go to page 41 of the PDF? Yes.
Okay, so there's a change on this page?
My page does not look like that page. I wonder why. It's the Arnold Avenue project.
Yeah, so it has nothing to do with the vehicle purchase, huh? Okay.
No, it does not.
Well, I was confused about what you were talking about. There was a typo. And so I thought, oh, well, I need to look and see what changed from what I had read previously. And I was having trouble finding it.
Should be down, I believe. And I can share my screen really quickly if that would be easier for you. Can you see that?
Yes. Arnold Avenue Bridge replacement.
Yes. So it's these totals that there was a typo in the actual memo.
Okay. So what we're seeing here is the correct numbers.
Yes.
Ah, okay. Thank you. Any questions for anybody else? I guess not. All right. And we need a motion on this too?
Yes.
Okay, let me get back up to there. We need a motion to recommend approval. Oh, no. Yes, that's what we need. I'm looking at the wrong motion, but I think that's really what we're looking for.
Yes.
recommend approval of the tip amendment to the fiscal year 22-25 tip. So do I have a motion for that, please?
Hi, this is Shelly Roars with the League. I recommend approval of the tip amendment to the FYI 2025 tip.
Carrie Hayes, second.
Thank you very much. Discussion? All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? What an agreeable group today. Thank you all. That motion passes too. Okay, next. Oh, that was, since we took it out of order, I think we've covered all the action items, if that is correct. Any member discussion? It's a quiet, frozen group today. Any items that we need to have at the next PAC meeting?
Oh, I'm sorry, Maylee. I have a member discussion. This is Shelly again.
Oh, yes, Shelly.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
No worries. Two things. The league is having we always have a monthly public meeting that's open to the public, always the third Saturday of every month. This in March, it is March 19th, and our topic is growth, the future of Colorado Springs, obviously a pretty big topic for some of us. And we have two planners from the city coming as well to present. So please mark that down again, Saturday, March 19th at 1 to 3 p.m. at the Penrose Library on growth. And then for those of you, again, I don't care who you vote for. I just care that you vote. You do have caucuses coming up. For those of you who are partisan, just please mark down March 5th for your caucus date. Again, I think that's one of those, but either way, please vote. You got that coming up. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shelly. I don't see any other hands. Okay, items for the next CAC meeting. I don't see any hands. You want to hear about the meeting and event schedule coming up? Jessica, have any comments on that?
The only thing I'll add is, so we're kicking off our security library partnership to offer some Medicare 101 classes with that library. So on Wednesday evenings at 5:30 in March, we'll be offering Medicare 101 webinars through the Security Public Library Partnership. So it's new, it's exciting. Feel free to spread the word, as those are awesome classes and a great opportunity for folks to learn.
They have good value.
Sharon Brown on the caucuses. Caucuses are March 1st. I thought she had a different date for it. The caucuses will all be held throughout the entire state of Colorado on March
1st. Okay.
March 1st.
Thank you for the clarification. You can tell again, you can tell I don't, nonpartisan, man. It's great about the league.
Anything else for the good of the order?
This is Michael Colomb. So I think, well, I'm looking at both parties, both major party caucuses, and those that doesn't that's not what I'm seeing here. Yeah, I'll put both registration. I'll put both registration for the caucuses in here, but the one that I'm seeing for one party is March 5th.
I'll tell you what, if it's okay, Jessica, we'll get clarification on all of those to make sure we got those that right information, and you have links to that. So that way everybody has it. Thank you.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
Well, if there's nothing else, meeting adjourned, and we'll see you all next month.
Okay. Thank you.
Those of you who are brave enough to let us see you, there's a lot of people but no faces.
Thank you all. You guys have a great one.
Thanks. Oh, there's Jeff. Bye.
Internet troubles here, so.
Yes.
Can someone look up the dinner party caucus?
Yeah.
I just want to eat. I just like snacks.